Guys, this is going to be a big one. The whole Bible in one video. Okay, you've been told the Bible is one story, but when you actually open the book, well, God's smiting cities in one chapter and preaching forgiveness in the other chapter. Rules here, violence there, grace over there, judgment somewhere else, right? At some point, you just think, am I missing something here? Or does this actually not add up? How do these things all connect? Most people don't struggle with the Bible because it's too deep, right? They struggle because it feels disconnected. And eventually, you just assume, maybe I'm bad at this. Maybe faith isn't just for me. And I don't think that's true. I think most of us were never given the big picture of the Bible. So this video isn't a summary book by book, it's a crash course. And it's definitely not me pretending that this is all simple. It's the shape of the story. The best way I've found to understand the Bible is to stop treating it like a textbook and start seeing it like a family story, okay? Told over a very long time by people who are slowly learning who God actually is. The Bible isn't one voice. It's many voices spread across centuries, different authors, different cultures, different moments of fear, hope, confidence, and collapse. And crucially, it's written by people inside the story, not above it. That means that some parts sound like proud family memories, some parts sound like arguments, some parts sound like people trying to make sense of pain after the fact. And the Bible, that big book, doesn't hide the family mess, which is actually one of the reasons that I trust it. If this were propaganda, it would clean itself up. Instead, it leaves the awkward bits in. And here's the key. The Bible isn't a book where everybody already understands God. You don't have to read very far into it to find that out. It's a record of people slowly learning. The story that starts in Genesis with a world that's called good, a place where God and humans are meant to live in trust. And right at the start, the core temptation is not about rebellion. It's about mistrust. Can God really be trusted? Is he holding something back? Wouldn't you be better off deciding for yourself? Humans choose control over trust. Here we are, Genesis. And the immediate result isn't lightning from heaven. It's shame. It's hiding in the garden. Blame. Distance. This is the first crack in the relationship. From the very beginning, the Bible's diagnosis of what's wrong with the world isn't ignorance, it's broken trust. And from here, the story starts to spiral quite quickly. One brother kills another, violence multiplies, power replaces care. Then there's a flood, famously. But even that doesn't fix the human heart. And then there's the Tower of Babel. Humans grasping for security, control, significance, and ending up scattered and divided. This is the part of the family story where the same patterns keep repeating and no one quite knows how to stop them. And by this point, things feel fractured. Hope feels thin. And this is the part of the story where it could have ended, right? But it doesn't. It's like if you're writing a novel, they call it the long, dark night of the soul, right? It's the darkest moment in the film. God stays with the family. Instead of starting over, God does something unexpected. He chooses a family, one person, Abraham, and then a people. And not because they're impressive, but because God commits to them. The promise is simple. I'll bless you so that everyone else can be blessed too. This family ends up enslaved in Egypt. And this bit's important. Before there are rules, before there's law, there's rescue. God hears the suffering, and God acts, and God liberates. The Bible doesn't begin with the commandments. It doesn't begin with Leviticus. It begins with deliverance. And the order matters. So only after rescue does the law appear. Not as a way to earn love, but as a way to learn how to live. These aren't points on a scoreboard. They're boundaries for traumatized people trying to live together without destroying one another. If you were taught that the Bible is about earning God's approval or about following rules, you were taught backwards. This is a family learning how to be a family again. Eventually, the people want a king, someone in charge, someone strong, and it goes about as well as you'd expect because power corrupts. The vulnerable get ignored, religion starts serving powerful instead of challenging them. And this is where the prophets enter. Not fortune tellers, truth tellers. Amos watches people show up for worship, singing the right songs, saying the right prayers, while outside the poor are being crushed. Sound familiar? And he says, God hates your festivals. Nathan walks into the palace and tells the King David to his face, you are the problem. The prophets call out for justice. They defend the poor. They confront religious hypocrisy. Here's a line worth sitting with. The prophets are proof that God is not on the side of religious power. This is a family loudly arguing with each other. Not because love is gone, but because something precious is being lost. Eventually, somewhere about here, everything falls apart. The temple is destroyed. The land is lost. The people are dragged into exile. This is a family losing their house, their traditions, their sense of who they are even. And here's what matters. The Bible doesn't rush past this. It writes poems about grief, songs about anger, questions with no neat answers always. Exile is where faith stops being time and starts being honest. For many people today, this is the part of the story that quietly feels familiar. And then into that long, unresolved story, Jesus appears. Quite late, really, in the book. Not as a backup plan, not as a reset button, but as clarity. Jesus doesn't just fix the problem, he reveals God. And if you've ever read the Bible and thought, I don't know what to do with this picture of God, this is the center. Jesus moves towards the broken. A woman caught in adultery, dragged in front of the crowd. The religious leaders, they want to stone her. They've got scripture on their side. And Jesus kneels down, writes in the dirt, and he says, let the one without sin throw the first stone. He eats with the tax collectors. He touches lepers. He lets children interrupt him. He confronts religious systems that crush people. He redefines power as service, greatness as humility, love as self-giving. And on the cross, God doesn't respond to violence with more violence. He just absorbs it. And in the resurrection, God says, this is what I'm like. And this is not the end. Here's the key line, and it's worth remembering, okay? If you're ever confused about God anywhere else in the Bible, look at Jesus and work backwards. After Jesus, upside down, that doesn't help. After Jesus, somewhere about there, that much left in the book, the story doesn't become perfect all of a sudden. The early church is messy. The letters in the New Testament are full of disagreement, confusion, and, of course, correction. They're not instruction manuals for flawless faith, they're family letters, written by people trying to live as if Jesus is actually true. And the Bible ends not with escape, but with renewal. Not heaven instead of earth, but heaven and earth reunited. The story ends where it began, God dwelling with people again. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the Bible, you're not failing. It's a big, long, meandering story. You are allowed to read it slowly. Please read it slowly. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to be mid-story, because the Bible isn't a story of how to get to God. It's the story of God refusing to give up on his family. And if this video helped you even a little, then the next step isn't knowing more, it's learning to read with that story in mind. My name's Jacob, and this might be church.